Hey THICC Odin here, continuing the character breakdowns for Guilty Gear Strive. This time, we stop fooling around and fight with Goldlewis Dickingson. Oh yeah.
Each sentence should begin and end with sir.
The personification of what the rest of the world think Americans look like.
He's fat!
Gold-Dick is what we could probably say is the agile THICC Boi of the series. You know the type. He is the THICC Boi who is able to dash through the skies with the greatest of ease and unload a hellstorm of Gold-Dick baggery that gets stronger over time, thanks to in part to his unique mechanic, the security level. So once again we have a meter above our health bar that, depending on the level, will boost some of Gold-Dick's special moves. Again, it's 3 levels, starting with 1, which is no meter. Don't ask why it's like that, it just is. Then we move on to level 2, which is half full or 1 bar. And finally level 3, which is 100% full. But how does it work, I hear you ask? Well, the meter gain is completely passive. It just fills over time on its own accord, similar to the meters in MK11 for those of you who have played that. The meter gain itself is pretty fast, slowing down the moment you reach the 50% mark, keeping things all nice and balanced. When you use what I'm dubbing as a security special, the meter will be drained completely, and whatever level you had reached prior to using the move will determine the values the attack has. So if you use the special just as you're about to be level 3, you will still only get the level 2 version of the attack, making it that if you want that big boy damage, some restraint is required. Key attacks are as followed, starting with 6P, and this universal anti-air has Gold-Dick unleash his extraterrestrial friendo to swat the opponent away. Its startup isn't something to write home about, and range-wise it's pretty poor, only landing about point-blank range, with deraclart levels of startup attacks easily punishing you on block. But at least it has a somewhat decent verticality, and on hit will keep the opponent relatively in your area, while on counter will grant you a hard knockdown with enough slowdown in between to cancel into and land specials you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Its biggest downfall, however, is despite the animation looking like it will, it can't hit people behind you, meaning it's easy for the opponent to dash in and mix you up. Next is his 5K, because once again we have a low which is pretty rare. Only 3 characters before his arrival had this trait, and while it isn't all that rangy or all that fast, to be honest, it's stupidly slow for a 5K. It's like Soul's Far Slash without the range or momentum. It at least has that Nago jank where the foot lift high profiles low attacks, so can be pretty useful in that regard. And since he has some decent overhead options, can be a great 50-50 mix-up. We now move on to his 5S, starting with the Far Slash, as while it isn't as far-reaching as others of its type, it is on par with Soul's Far Slash speed-wise, which is pretty good as Far Slashes are concerned. This means it can outspeed a lot of the roster's ranged normals, and since slashes are good special cancel moves, you get a lot of use out of it. His close slash is pretty decent too, coming out slightly faster than Soul's 6H, while also having the usual close slashing goodness, and on counter allows for the big guns to come out. Pretty decent stuff. Next we have 2 Slash because, well, look at it. It's basically his fastest range poke. While it's still pretty slow, that range makes it great for frame traps, as they have no real way to punish you max range. Next is his 5H, or as I like to call it, the Big Bad Kofansky, as it's almost a short-range version of Anji's 5H, which, to be honest, there are a lot of similarities between these 2 characters, but we'll talk more about that later. This has Gold-Dick slam his coffin down with excessive force. It's one of your main combo strings off of close slash and is a frame trap on block. The only thing the opponent can do is iframe out of it, so Dragon Punch or Overdrive. Another boon it has though is it counts as a mid, so moves like Vortex and Stun Dipper can't low profile it. This means like Nago's 5H, it can be used as an OTG setup, mainly off a throw, so it can be very devastating in a corner. We move on to his only other command normal, 6H. This has Gold-Dick giant swing his coffin into the opponent, sending them flying full screen. It's far hitting, and because of the pushback is practically safe on block unless they have a really fast far hitting move, and on counter it connects with specials not normally possible and adds a hard knockdown so you can dash in and prepare to lock in some pressure. Aerial wise, there's nothing really special. Jump punch and jump slash are your standard air-to-airs, with jump slash being that little bit better, as although it's a lot slower, it links into his air specials a lot easier, and jump kick, heavy and dust are more of a jump in option, with jump heavy being able to mix the opponent up and jump dust having such a long startup and range that you can do it the moment you jump and it will practically land perfectly as he comes down. This also makes it a good safe jump option, as any other point after the peak of the jump will cut out the animation, so yeah, good stuff. Now I'll throw in 2H and 2 Dust as honourable mentions because, well, 2H is a standard pop-up extension tool and it looks absolutely glorious, and 2 Dust is a long-range sweep, equally as long as Potemkin's, but you wouldn't know about that because I had to do this guy first. So yeah, let's just move on to the specials. And finally my wish has come true, as there are only 3 of them. Oh, you son of a bitch! So yes, we start with the meme-worthy Behemoth Typhoon. This has 8 different variants, all stemming from the half circle motion. They can all also be done in the air, making it actually 16 different variants. Why do we even have a monkey's paw? Now there are a few common traits here. 1, they are all hard hitters, dealing more damage than his 6H. 2, they all end in a hard knockdown. 3, they all deal a jack ton of damage on block. And 4, all the ground versions of the moves are guard crushers, meaning the opponent will have a different animation when they block the attack, and they can't perform a reversal. So you are pretty much safe in the grand scheme of things. Now to deal with these golden fallacies, we're going to start in a clockwise manner, because, well, f it, and to make things as straightforward as possible, we are going to use the numerical annotations, because saying half circle back is okay, but saying half circle up clockwise is going to be a bit, you know, stupid. And we are going to shorten the numerical annotations. Normally the half circle forward is read as 4, 1, 2, 3, 6. But we can actually abbreviate this and take out those middle numbers, because, well, you roll your thumb over them naturally. So effectively it becomes a 4, 2, 6. You get me? Good. So inputting 6, 2, 4 will have Gold-Dick deliver a quick swing of his coffin, sending the opponent flying full screen. This move is so quick it can be comboed into from almost anything, making it a great option after you block punish and a safe block string option. 248 will have Gold-Dick perform a low sweep that will switch sides with the opponent. It's also pretty quick and has a great big swing arc behind you that can catch opponents trying to cross you up, setting up for an easy combo. Now if the coffin hits on its peak angle, this will keep the opponent on the same side they left on, making it a great setup tool in certain combo situations. Now a big tip if your back is against the wall is to get a jab and cancel into this move. This will take the corner back. All you have to do is just walk a little step when the opponent is at their peak, and you are golden. If you're struggling to do this though, you can use a purple Roman and give yourself more time to adjust. You can also use the aerial version of this in a few situations. Landing it off a jump kick will probably be the best option, as it allows for some decent combos and setups. Its biggest downfall though is that range, as anything but a point blank attack will whiff, and you'll die. 486 will deliver a hammer down like overhead that will pop the opponent up for combos, made even easier with that counter hit. In the corner, this move can be pretty deadly, as the bounce up can get you some really powerful setup options off the wall. Now the best string to use this from is a close slash 2H, as the pop up from the 2H will allow the move to actually combo, as normally it won't do so because of its main downside, that startup. It leaves a huge ass gap, and you will be interrupted by any quick and or low profile move. Finally, we have 862, which is a faster, sort of less bouncy version of the previous overhead. This move can easily be comboed into from 5H, and on counter will pop the opponent high enough for meterless combos. To be honest, there really isn't much to say on this. Because of its speed, you can use it as a frame trap off of your close far slash strings, and yeah, it's an okay move. Moving on to the counterclockwise versions, if you perform 426, Gold-Dick will do a home run hit ski, swinging his coffin full force. It's a lot slower than the half circle back version, but it sends them flying a lot further and causes a wall bounce on airborne opponents. Remember this wall bounce. Again, because of that slowness, it's easily interruptible, but that's where 2H and in turn the big overhead can come in. Both of these attacks will allow you to land the home run with ease, and if you are close to the wall, that bounce becomes absolutely deadly, allowing you to do some crazy damage in setups. 268 has Gold-Dick swing his coffin upwards, launching the opponent into the air, and this once again is a decent enough frame trap that on counter will guarantee combos. Now you can use a red Roman to dash under the opponent in certain conditions to take back the corner, but that can kind of be seen as pointless since you already have a version that will switch sides for no meter of jabs. Still, it can be of use. Now if you do 684, this behemoth typhoon, sorry I had to do it, will do a quicker version of the previous upswing that is also a true block string. Now another big boon is once again, it covers both sides of Goldie, so if they leap over you to cross up, they will get smushed and bounced up on counter. Again, its simplicity is its beauty. Now in the corner, this is an easier way to get the same setup as jumping 248 off the wall bounce. You close slash, land 684, and you won't break the wall. Instead, the opponent will land just in the right spot for you to set up your pressure. Last of the behemoths, we have 842. And this is a big sweep that again, because of the hitbox, can work as an anti-air. Sadly, it's a little on the slow side, and that point blank range is extremely hard to combo into, and it's a bit of a bastard to do raw, as with most of these half circles that involve a jump. Now a general tip for you controller users is use the thumbstick for the more awkward inputs. One, it really makes those inputs more reliable, so D-pad for normal movement, analog for behemoth typhoons. Trust me, it will save the skin off your thumb. And again, he has aerial versions of all of these attacks. It's not like you'll need all of them, they are nice, but the startup on a lot of them are just too slow to actually get anything done, but it's still more of a safe jump bait. His next special is Thunderbird. This has the ET throw out a flying discharge mine that will float over to the opponent. It's almost RNG levels of startup, RNG levels of travel speed, and has range that will have you question if it should even be counted as a projectile. But this does have the boon of being a security special, so it gets a boost to its properties depending on that security level. Normally the mine barely travels to starting point distance before disappearing into the void, but at level 2 it already surpasses Shih Tzu in range and will hit the opponent 3 times as long as it isn't about to exceed its max range. Now at level 3 it becomes a full screen monster, with the propeller really cutting you up before the big boom. This move, like Anji's Shih Tzu, is one of your main Oki tools, working almost exactly the same way Shih Tzu would, if not better. Getting to at least level 2 is a bit of a breeze, and with the right setup you can really keep the pressure on. Outside of the standard options, a real powerful one mid-screen is off of that behemoth wall bounce, as that hard knockdown is right at your feet, granting the perfect setup. Now as always, this isn't guaranteed because of reversals and iframes and blah blah blah, but still it's a good setup tool. However,
there is another.
Finally we have Skyfish, where our big heavy pulls out a big heavy and does a big heavy all at the opponent. Once again, this Gatling gun is a security special, dealing more hits and damage the higher the levels. Level 1 being 10 hits, level 2 being 20 hits, and level 3 being, you guessed it, 30 hits. It's pretty safe on block at a distance, with level 2 and 3 being super safe on block thanks to that pushback, and once again it's a great pressure tool, as the amount of hits coming at a fast pace will force the opponent to block on wake up. If they DP, they get hit. They try any other reversal, they get hit. If Soul tries for a heavy mob cemetery on wake up, he gets hit. So they really have to block and just ride it out. Unless you're Faust. He can crawl under. And the move itself is not without its flaws. For one, if the opponent has good air game, they can literally dash to you and kick you out of it, to which you will instantly lose all the security level meter you just had. Really good setup for this is off the ground or hard knockdowns. For Overdrives, we start with
Burn it down!
where Gold-Dick uses his Kano Eye to mark a fucking hammer of dawn onto the opponent. The Overdrive itself is pretty much Tommy's Dragon missiles from Power Rangers. It's basically a setup tool that has a very slow start, but this has the boon of getting stronger the higher the security gauge is, becoming full on Independence Day at level 3. Yes, this is a security super. Ideally, this is best used off a 684 behemoth in the corner, as that will give you enough time to get the blast out and force some pressure. However, as long as there's a hard knockdown, you can kind of go for it. Either way, if they block or get hit, it's bringing them straight to you, and with the blast being so big at level 3, it's going to be hard for them to see what exactly you're doing. Last but by no means least, we have Down with the System, where Gold-Dick uppercuts the opponent with the coffin, sending mines out to finish the job. Funny enough, this move can also be boosted depending on how you input the move. The normal input is just the standard attack, but you can also do an old school full circle input, which depending on how many circles you have inputted before you press the punch, will boost the attack's power level, shown by a different animation. Doing the 360-degree spin will be the same as the normal inputs, while doing a 720 or 2 rotations will have the camera zoom in on Goldie's face before the inevitable uppercut. And finally doing a 1080 or 3 rotations will have Gold-Dick almost break a blood vessel like it was Taco Tuesday before the inevitable uppercut. This move is a great combo ender on a wall break, but more importantly, it's a great reversal. In fact, it's your only reversal. Now the reason it's so good is you can at least get a level 2 off an off the ground reversal, and you can get the full powered version off a wall splat during your animation delay. Again, it's best for you pad players to use the thumbstick for this, as it really makes those full circles a doddle. Overall, it's safe to say that Goldlewis could be classed as a THICC Boi Angie. He may lack the guard points, but his general playstyle feels the same. In a sense, you have mix-ups for days and pressure for weeks. But what sets Gold-Dick apart is that damage. This boy hits so hard, it's crazy. However, I do feel he has a lot of glaring weaknesses in his kit. Behemoth Typhoon, while meme-worthy for its repetitiveness and its utility, is still 16 variations of one attack, stemming from a very thumb-burning style. Like, I've played fighting games day in, day out for 25 years, and on the first day of labbing this kit, my thumb has been in the worst condition since Nago's lab sessions, which I have already described as being on par with playing Ultimate Battle 22. However, I do chalk this up to the PS5 pad being, god awful for fighting games, cause that D-pad is so bleh. But that's been kind of the norm since the PS4. Hori, please bring out your PS5 pad soon, please. His biggest problem, however, is with both his speed and range. His dash, while welcome, is very slow, and it makes what would be simple combos a ball ache to gauge. And with the lack of a good, fast, rangy poke, he has a hard time dealing with aggressive play. Not to mention his only form of invincibility is down with the system, so if you don't have meter, it's really hard to deal with Oki pressure. And don't get me started on 5p. The fact that you cannot land this attack on certain characters while they're standing is just buggy to me. I mean, Faust is deemed as one of the worst characters in the game, and some people use the fact that his 5k is in the same boat as this. Personally, I would add a little bit of range and knock a frame or two off his punch and kick buttons, so he's at least on par with some of the other THICC boys, and add some level of invincibility to his 268/684 Behemoth Typhoons. That way he'd have some way to take a breather. But if that never happens, game plan wise you need to utilize those Oki setups. Thunderbird is basically a better Shih Tzu, and if you set it up right, will frustrate the opponent for days. 6H, while really slow, is a really powerful tool if you get that counter hit going into Skyfish. While not always guaranteed depending on the character, it is some strong damage and setup. Utilize what range you do have and get yourself into wall bounce territory. Gold-Dick excels when bouncing opponents off the wall, and those setups are super spicy. Remember that all Behemoth Typhoons are hard knockdown. Some are really great at setting up Thunderbird, Skyfish and burn it down. Like in this bread and butter, you can either finish in the 684 Behemoth Typhoon for an easy setup, or the aerial 248 off of the jump kick for a bit more damage. You can also combo the half circle back Behemoth from your 2 dust. So if you're in a pinch, 5/2k into 2 dust is a great combo starter when you have tension. Keep all this in mind and you'll show that 51 is your favorite number.
How do they always run away so fast?
Okay, that's it for today's video. Hope it helps, and if it did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, Behemoth Typhoon that bell thingy, and follow me on the Twitch and Twitters. Also, if there's any tips and tricks you found yourself, or just want me to cover someone in the future, let us know in the comment section below. And finally, tune in next time where we return to our regular broadcasting schedule. But until that day, this has been Techno Odin. Stay safe, claim skulls, and let's rock!
Know the smell of the